This edition of The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Picture This Photo Books, where remembering is the key ingredient. How beautiful your mother looked at her wedding, and even more so at yours. And who doesn't miss Grandma's meatballs? The holidays are coming. What better time to give a gift of remembrance that makes you laugh and cry all at the same time? Whatever gift of Grandma's recipes, or just because, those smiles and tears will melt your heart. Call Karen Shaw at 646-798-0809 or visit picturethisphotobooks.com. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 10% off your first order. Picture This Photo Books, bringing your memories back to life. They're whimsical, casual, or formal, and always uniquely you.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. It's time to give a shout out to our official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, then you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries with 2 strangers and 1 target where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and is even loved by Hollywood celebrities including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today. Order Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, now available at Amazon.
It's now time for The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention The Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give a big shout out to our official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international war-winning author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Hollywood celebrities including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mian Mohsen Zia. Available on Amazon. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartradio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple Music. And take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out The Mike Wagner Show podcast for t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, throw pillows, tote bags, and more. And for more great gift ideas, including pop sockets, hoodies, as well as phone cases and more, go to Amazon.com/Mian Mohsen Zia. And check out some great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Amazon.com/Mian Mohsen Zia. And don't forget to donate to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. Also on Anchor FM /support at The Mike Wagner Show. Also PayPal.com at The Mike Wagner Show or Mike Wagner Voiceover. Make sure you give generously today. We're here with 2 terrific gentlemen combining to create an epic baseball memoir, which is called Comfortably Zoned and a vatofpinetar. And one of them we had on the show before. We call him the Zig-Zag Man. He's a host of Comfortably Zoned radio podcast featuring on this day in New York baseball history. Served in the Air Force, moved to California, managed an insurance agency, became a West Coast rep for Topps Baseball. And also we have the author as well, too, who's the inside author of Inside Hockey and former publisher of Sportstat, The Ranger Report. Also wrote We Did Everything But Win about the Emile Francis era and Guardians of the Goal, a big Rangers fan, and they combined to talk sports. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from both coasts, from New York and from Los Angeles, over in the middle. Ladies and gentlemen, the authors of Comfortably Zoned and a vatofpinetar, Georgegrimm and Ralph, the Zig-Zag Man Tyko. Guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us once again. Ralph, great to hear from you again.
Thanks for having us on.
And Zig, it's great to hear from you too. Okay, is Zig still with us? Are you still with us, Zig? Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me? We got you.
I can. A pleasure to be with you, Mike. It's a return engagement for me. I'd like to really pay homage to my co-author, Georgegrimm. You were terrific to work with, and I think we did a good job. How about that?
Thank you.
How about that for modesty? Because we've gotten some excellent acclaim, and you're to blame, my friend. So, all right. And not only you, but the members of the Comfortably Zoned radio network, whose interviews we turned into a book. People like Peter Golenbach and Hal Bach and Peter Trunk and a myriad of others. Al Blumkin comes to mind right now, who help me with the interview process. And it turned out better than I ever expected. And again, George is to blame.
I have to tell you something about the interviews first. Because I had to listen to every one of them, 2 or 3 times to get them right. And Ralph really does great one-on-one interviews. I mean, all the interviews in the book are good, and a lot of them, it's a group of 3 or 4 of the people Ralph mentioned. But Ralph really does very good long-form, in-depth, one-on-one interviews. He gets a lot of information out of his guests. He gets them to open up, and it was really interesting to work on his interviews as well as the book.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, George. What can I tell you? It's something that derived. I'm just curious about things, and if you ask questions to satisfy your own curiosity, the chances are it will transpose into satisfying other people's curiosity as well. Because I'm just an everyday guy who happened to pick sports as his passion, and I put myself in the position of somebody out there who wants to learn as much as I do, or at their own pace. And so thank you, George, for that. I'm very complimented.
And certainly amazing as well, too. And before we get in the book, Zig, just quickly tell us how you got started. And George, tell us how you got started as well.
You go first, George. You go first, my friend.
The main part of my life I spent as an IT auditor in a bank, but I was always writing part-time about the Rangers. The Rangers have been very good to me. They gave me something to write about, and I wrote Sportstat, and then I moved to a couple other newsletter type deals, and about 8 years ago, when I hit 62, I retired, and then I started writing the book. I wrote the Emile Francis book, We Did Everything But Win, which was a real thrill for me because I got to call these players up that I grew up watching, and I got to speak to Emile Francis very, very often, and we became they're pretty good friends. And that book came out very well. And then I did Guardians of the Goal. And now I'm working on the third book about the Frank Boucher era, which actually I was about halfway through it, and I needed to break because it really wasn't coming out the way that I wanted it to come out or the way that I had planned. And that's about the time when Ralph asked me to work on his book, and it was a good opportunity to branch out, to do something else, and to see what, how that will work out. And it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You mind if I interrupt? That's a key word, fun. If it ain't fun, it shouldn't be getting done. And until the final process of getting the book published, which involves editing and transforming the manuscript and all that, that wasn't fun. But until then, I could honestly say that it wasn't work. Am I right, George?
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it, and I learned something out of every podcast. And I also realized that I knew a lot more than I thought I knew about some of the subjects, some of the players. But I also learned something about all of them, and it was an interesting process. And, as you said, as we got towards the end and they're actually making it into a book, from paper into a book, that got a little hairy, but we got past it. So
we did, and we had no disagreements along the way. Some things we debated, but it was always with kindness, and neither of us had anything to gain from being right or wrong.
Right.
It was just based on a mutual respect for each other. I knew what I was doing alone would never be a book. And I accepted the fact that I needed a partner. And George, you again, terrific. I can't say I'm cheering up, but I'm close. You completed my dream of being in the library. I'm in the Alameda Library, the book itself. And I go over there. That means an awful lot to me because, number one, you asked Mike how I got started in this. It's the same library that I read myself. I read Peter Golenbach's Forever Boys. Yeah. And I had been doing a podcast, an individual podcast, all subjects and what have you. And I thought to myself, wow, Peter Golenbach wrote this book that absolutely blew me away. It was about the senior league in baseball and what retired players would go through to keep the uniform on, to keep that being a little boy, as Roy Campanella would say. And I, sure enough, called Peter Golenbach and asked him if he would be on my podcast. And he was delightful, and we had a wonderful time. And then I thought to myself, I wonder if Peter Golenbach, who has had radio experience, as well as 10 best-selling books in the New York Times, would like to do a show on my network if there was a network. And he said, absolutely, set it up. My heart started to beat. and I got some of the other some of the people who have been guests, and I had a tremendous rapport with, and we started this network that now has 3,000 plus. I think it's 308 offerings on. They're all available on YouTube.
Wow!
And they're all archived, and like George said, there's some super people that we talk to, and like I say, George is the rich man's. I won't even say it. Another author. George is laughing, but we were motivated by making fun from week to week of an author whose premise was pretty much the same as ours, but he just didn't make it interesting. And we boring as hell, to be kind. And this was a person you'd recognize.
You said his name. You say, "Oh yeah, wow, yeah."
So we decided to do two things. First of all, I asked Peter Golenbach and Mark Littell to write forwards. And Mark Littell wrote one quickly, and Peter Golenbach said, "Write the book first, then I'll write a forward." So we had to please Peter Golenbach, who I'd done a myriad of podcasts with, and who's heavily featured in the book. We had to please ourselves first, and we got it done. And in the year of the pandemic, while others looked at the time off as being negative, we looked at it as being positive. Mm-hmm. It gave us focus.
Yeah, and this was our COVID project.
Right. And we cover the gamut in terms of baseball history. We interview players of fame and players, coaches, former managers, some not so famous, but getting things out of the not so famous is easier than getting things out of the superstar who wasn't thinking about it, didn't sit on the bench and watch the game with the coach's eye. And we talk to people in the press box, official scorers, pharmacists for the A's, Jerry Feidelberg, recovering from back surgery. Keep it up, Jerry. As an example, we talk to former announcers. I know you're thinking along the same lines when I say announcers. Tell the story of Dan Wardlow.
Yes, we have a podcast with a guy named Don Wardlow, who's blind. He's blind. He was born blind, and he made himself a color analyst for minor league baseball on radio. And it's an amazing story. It's very inspirational. And someone like me who has his own problems with his vision, it's very inspirational to me, because it's just an amazing story that he was able to do this. And he's on Facebook, and he's blind, and he's able to do all these things, and it's an amazing story. And Ralph also talked to a woman who was the first
public address announcer.
It's the first PA announcer for the San Francisco Giants, the first woman. Her name was Sherry.
Sherry Davis.
Mm-hmm. And that was a very interesting story, too, how she got that job, how she met Ralph. They were both online, out there by Candlestick Park trying to get a tryout for the gig. And Sherry got it, Ralph didn't, but, he isn't too upset about that. But,
the way things turned out, I was so happy for Sherry. And I have to admit, at the time, I was incredibly disappointed because what a job, the PA announcer, and they're paying you bucks. Now batting number 4. What a dream. I could have imitated my hero, Bob Shepard, for the rest of my life. But Sherry got it, and amazingly enough, Sherry and I became fast friends later on in life. And she appeared on my early podcasts and was charming. And her story is in the book. I'm not going to give anything away, but she had some amazing experiences. And speaking of that, I learned the valuable lesson that George and I talked about in the book. I took a shot at being a PA announcer. In life, you take shots, and the more shots you take, the more your chances of one's going to go in the goal, so to speak, proverbial goal. And a hockey fan like George understood that immediately, or a guy like me understood when he said it. We're taking shots. We're doing the best we can. Yeah. We had no pressure whatsoever in doing this, only to do the best we can and live with the results. And that piece of philosophy was passed on to me by David Hirsch, my good friend from Sacramento. And so everybody learns from each other. I learned a lot from baseball. I learned a lot of baseball from doing the interviews. I like to think some of the people I interviewed learned something from me.
Huh.
Because that's what it's about. Communication. And anybody out there, you'll love it. I can say that Peter Golenbach ended up saying, "We wrote a brilliant book." That was his critique. And as I told George, who are we to blow against the wind? Right.
Oh my God. Gosh, you got a great thing going, guys. So we'll talk about some of the stories in just 1 minute. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention The Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international Wolverine author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forrest Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for it goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com and over 30 podcast platforms. Take us with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out The Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, Amazon.com/MiaMolsonzia. And don't forget to donate generously to themikewagnershow.com. Also Anchor FM and PayPal. Make sure you do so today. We're here with two terrific gentlemen teaming up on the book Comfortably Zoned and a vatofpinetar on the Mike Wagner Show with Ralph, the Zig-Zag Man, Tyko, and Georgegrimm. And George, guys, continue on and maybe you can just share maybe one or two stories out of the book. This sounds amazing.
George, why don't you tell Mike what you enjoyed most about writing the book?
Well, there was one of Peter Golenbach's podcasts. He was talking about the senior league, and he was saying how it's folded up, how it reached its end in its second year, and one of the owners, I forget which town, but one of the towns in Florida, he stole a lot of money from the mob, and he disappeared. He just disappeared into thin air. So that team had to be taken over by the league, and that was kind of the end of the league because they were basically operating on a shoestring anyway. So, but there's a lot of stories like that. We have two umpires who Ralph spoke to, and interesting stories. Peter Golenbach spoke to Billy Martin Jr.
Oh, wow!
That was a long, interesting interview. Billy really went into his father's life and why his father was like that, and how his father loved the Yankees so much. And he also talked to people who knew Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio, and he put to bed the rumors that those two didn't like each other because they really did get along. How Mickey came to wear number 7 after he came up as number 6 with the Yankees early in his career. And there's quite a few untold stories. We have George Case talking about his father, who played for the Washington Senators, and how he got to know Willie Mays when Willie was on his way up and he stopped in Trenton. He had to play in Trenton, and how the team had to outfit him with gloves and shoes and everything, and how he met Willie Mays and Willie's career after that, how he went to Minnesota and then he went up to New York, and it's really interesting to read these untold stories.
I agree. Like I say, who am I to blow against the wind individually? Again, you'll get the reader will get things out of this book that aren't baseball related. We talked to Bobby Brown before he passed away naturally, and he told us some things about Yogi Berra being first a Yankee third baseman, then a medical student, then a heart doctor, and then the president of the American League. And Peter had interviewed him for his book Dynasty back in the 60s. And I connected with Bobby again and sat down with him and Peter. And that interview fascinated me the most. But I could think, how many podcasts do we go through, George? 50 some odd podcasts, and none of the podcasts would have been included if I didn't or we didn't think they were interesting. Except for one where George and I disagreed. We're not even going to talk about which one that was. But George knows what I'm talking about. But I get overly excited, and sometimes I thumb through the book. I sit out on the porch, breaking in a baseball glove and thumbing through the book. And I go, wow, did I really say that to Catfish, to this guy? Did he really answer me this way? And I was thinking of Mudcat Grant when I said that, not Catfish Hunter. But Al Downing, Mudcat Grant, the list goes on. Fritz Peterson, Fritz, and Marty Appel helped set that up. I knew Marty Appel when he worked for my father's first cousin with the New York Sets tennis team. And all these years later, I reconnected with him, and he set me up with Fritz, and they told the story of when Fritz, at the end of Yankee Stadium, the last day, Marty Appel told Fritz Peterson that he had the lowest ERA of any Yankee pitcher in history.
Wow.
At Yankee Stadium. And they joked about that, but the thriller was for Fritz to have heard that. The thrill of me to hear those two discussing it, I tingle. What can I say? We are a couple of Walter Middies. And that's right. And we've talked about this before. We're outsiders, but we're insiders. And it makes it so nice to fulfill our dreams. George, take it.
Ralph, why don't you talk about the baseball cards? How you got into the business with Topps?
A woman named Margaret Wolfson Nearing gave me a book back in the early 70s, maybe mid 70s. No, 74, say. It was called the Baseball Card Flipping Book. And it was, this guy puts together a book of old baseball cards and takes us back in memories, famous baseball cards. And the person who did the forward of the book was the fellow who put together Topps baseball cards. His name is Cy Berger. And he wrote the forward of the book, and he told the story of Maury Wills, and Topps rejected him in the minors for a contract because they didn't think he'd ever make it. So they snubbed him. Well, Maury Wills developed late in life, comes to the big leagues, and refuses to sign a Topps contract for the first 5 years of his career. And in the book, in the forward, Cy Berger tells the story of how the Topps philosophy changed. Now they signed every player in the minors to a contract, gave him $5. They called it stake money. And so that when someone reaches the big leagues, Topps has permission to use their face on baseball cards. Mm-hmm. And what Cy Berger said, we were no longer reliant on scouts, because scouts would tell us who was going to make it, who wasn't, but they'd oftentimes miss, like with Maury Wills. So he said, we now sign everybody, and we just go out and a PR thing. Well, I lived in still do, in Northern California. There were two major, there weren't major leagues, but very important minor league teams, the California League, and the Northwestern League, which was an entry league for players. So I wrote Topps a letter. Actually, another woman in my life wrote Topps a letter, because I don't have the brains to do it. I just have the brains to attract intelligent women who know how to do it. Lizzie girl, Liz Liebman, and she wrote a letter to Topps that was absolutely incredible. This man is a fanatic, blah, blah, blah. He's a blah, blah, blah. Cy Berger gives me a call. He says, are you still interested in this job? I said, yes. He said, I'd like to meet you. Come to the winter meetings in Florida. Boom. I was there. And there's a whole story. I don't think we included it in the book, on how I went from New York to see my friend Marty Rose get married. Marty Rose ends up being a key person on the podcast network. He was my second grade friend. He was my best friend as a kid. So I see his wedding. I go off with another friend to Florida, and I meet Cy Berger, and he says, hang on for a year or so. We'll have an opening for you. And he calls back in a year or so, and he first the California League, then the California League and the Northwest League for 13 years. So I traveled around great country. I did the Midwest League 1 year too. I traveled around the country. They paid my expenses, and I got to meet the coaches and managers who were my boyhood heroes. Marv Grissom, for example, first person I ever met in a minor league clubhouse officially was Marv Grissom. And he was the relief pitcher of the 1954 Giants, my team, when they won the pennant. And I went, one of those guys. The word, are you? And I generally don't have trouble speaking with people. I couldn't talk. And he was the nicest guy in the world. I kept in touch with him until the day he passed away. He told me stories about Alvin Dark, if not the biggest hypocrite that ever lived. He's in the top 10. But I digress. Back to George.
Well, talking about all the players, we have podcasts with a guy named Ron Rabinovitz.
Yes, I remember Ron. I love Ron. Yes.
He was a childhood friend of Jackie Robinson, and he tells fantastic stories about his friendship with Jackie through most of his life, right until he passed away. And it's sad when he says about when he talks about the last time he saw Jackie and that. But we also have a lot about Branch Rickey and his kindness and his foresight to bring Jackie into the league. We talk about Bill Veck, how he probably would have brought black players into the league had Branch Rickey not gotten there first.
George, if you remember, we spoke with Mike Veck, Bill Veck's son, who is an amazing entrepreneur with the most famous independent league team, the St. Paul, whatever they call themselves.
Fighting Saints? I think Saints are Fighting Saints, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And he was and is tremendously successful, if baseball hasn't completely torn apart the minor leagues as we speak. We talk about, too, George Case, David Hubler, Alan Blumpkin, all old-timers, along with Hal Bach. We did an interview talking about our disappointments, all of us up in our 70s and 80s, who have given baseball so much of our lives. People don't understand what a real true fan is. Picture being 11 years old and your team, either the Brooklyn Dodgers, the New York Giants. You grew up, I love the Giants, but I worship the Dodgers and the Yankees as well. And 2 out of 3 teams leave the city when you're 11.
Wow.
And when you're 74, baseball puts a rule in where they start players on second base in the extra innings, because we wouldn't want people to have to stick around to see a true baseball game. Let's bastardize it as much as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what goes through. If you talk to people in a meeting, they'd have to tell you in a major league meeting, well, what are we going to do next to screw it up? Well, and it is screwed up. And we talk about the sadness, each of us individually and collectively, about our disappointment in today's game. But we also talk about what's right in today's game and how we're privileged to see players of all different nationalities from all over the world, and the athletic ability has increased tenfold when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Willie would have been Willie, Mickey would have been Mickey, but very few people would have been Ken Griffey. And from back then, and there's a lot of Ken Griffeys.
Mm-hmm.
The talent level has really risen. So we keep coming back because baseball, if it doesn't give us all we wanted, gives us something. What are we going to do? Start our own team? So our frustrations come through in the book. It's a real book. There's not one page of fluff in the book.
That's right, no fluff, yeah.
So please buy it. It's on Amazon. It's called Comfortably Zoned and vatofpinetar. The main author is Georgegrimm. I'm just the weak link in the chain, if you will. But buy it, and it's coming out on Audible. Eric Lindeberg, who's a major league announcer, is in the process of putting it together on Audible. It's in soft cover now, as well as whatever the hell they call it. But it will be coming out in hardcover within the week, and you'll enjoy it. I promise you that. And if you don't, double your money back from Georgegrimm. Wait, I can't say. Mike, will you offer the double your money back guarantee to the folks?
We know something. We'll talk about that in just 1 minute. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by our official sponsor, The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We'll be back with Georgegrimm and Ralph, Zig-Zag Man, Tyko with Comfortably Zoned, and a vatofpinetar after this timeout. 3, 2, 1. We're back with the authors Georgegrimm and Ralph, Zig-Zag Man, Tyko of Comfortably Zoned, and a vatofpinetar on the Mike Wagner Show. Great time just listening to you guys talk baseball about the book and everything. And you want to know something? Just to make you guys happy, yes, I'll do the double your money back. But they have to email me first and send me the PayPal information, and they got to double my money first.
I'll tell you what, I'll withdraw that request, Mike. No one's going to want their money back. Honest to God. It's the book I would have loved reading when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
That's right.
And of course, too, I happen to have some books as well, too, like with Mets, Yankees, and everything.
I read some great books, and some of the authors of the books that I wrote, Arnold Haino in particular, gave me a great interview. Arnold Haino wrote A Day in the Bleachers about the 54 World Series catch that Willie made. The whole book revolves around that catch. And he was recently passed away. He was well up in his 90s when he gave me the interview. Others like Bob Wolf, who passed away, Irv Noren, I can't thank their memories enough. What can I say? Again, I love you, George. This was the dream of my lifetime.
Well, thank you, Ralph. The book also has a lot about the roots of our fandom too. I mean, Ralph describes how he became a baseball fan thanks to his grandfather. Hal Bach describes the first time he went to the Polo Grounds, and his father showed him around and showed him where the press box is, and Hal got the idea that people get paid to watch the game. So that's how kind of got into being a sports writer. But there's a lot of that father and sons kind of information in the book, and I think you'll enjoy that too.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Hal Bach and his dad agreed on a byline that he used in his career when he was 11 years old. Box score.
Box score, love it.
Hal, and you mentioned George Case. David Hubler wrote a book and used about the Nats and the Grays, and he was a regular on the podcast. And there's a lot of David Hubler in the book. You guys are going to love him. Mike, have some of these folks on from time to time. They're the most interesting people I've met in a lifetime.
And certainly so, too. And there's a few I would like to have on as well, too. We'll talk more about off the air. Once again, we're with Georgegrimm and the Zig-Zag Man, Ralphtyko here on the Mike Wagner Show, a Comfortably Zoned, and a vatofpinetar. Make sure you get the book, and I'm looking forward to reading it. And one more thing, guys. What can we expect from you in 2022 and beyond?
Well, provided we're alive.
Yeah, hopefully,
we're still on, guys. We're still on. I didn't say goodbye yet. Keep going. I love you guys.
Okay. Well, and George is off on his hockey thing, and I'm so impressed with the podcast that he's offered the network, Comfortably Zoned. We have him doing Ranger Retro
Rangers.
Right, in the zone. And that's fun for me. George, the last podcast we did about the mask. It's not baseball, but talk about that.
Oh, well, one of the Ranger goaltenders of the past, named Steve Baker, he loaned his mask to the Hockey Hall of Fame many years ago. And they loaned it out to someone, and they never got it back. So, and his mask and 5 other masks are in the same boat that they're missing. And so he's trying to find it, and that's what that podcast was about. And we're trying to get someone who might know, because everyone knows where the mask was, but they're all pointing to their fingers to who had it and who sold it. So no one's willing to say, well, yeah, I have it, and I'll send it back to you. No. Everybody's saying, well, he had it, and he had it, and he had it. I never had it, So everybody's pointing fingers, and it's just not getting anywhere. And like I said, there's 5 other masks involved too, and it's interesting stuff. It's also the kind of thing that it's a very hot topic, because it's the Hockey Hall of Fame, and the Hockey Hall of Fame in Canada is like a national institution. You can't fight them. I mean that would be like fighting City Hall, and you just can't do that. So you've got to couch your accusations, and you've got to. You have to tread very lightly.
Mm-hmm. And
but you have some heavy-duty investigators. You have a retired police detective that was on the show.
Yeah.
So you have people that are taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And Mr. Baker is a charming person. He's starting a league. What's that about?
Oh, that's the Three Ice League. It's been delayed because of COVID, but it's a league that's going to play during the summer. It's a hockey league that's going to play during the summer, and it's going to be 3-on-3. And that should, I think it's going to be 2 forwards and a goalie, and that should be interesting. Just wide open, river hockey, and it should be interesting to watch. Hopefully, they're going to start in the spring of 2022. He's got. Craig Patrick is the league commissioner, and he's got a couple other former players and coaches who are involved with the teams too. So we wish him the best of luck with that. As that gets closer, we'll have him on the podcast.
And that sounds very interesting, guys. And once again, where can we find the book, and where can we find your podcast at, guys?
comfortablyzoned comfortablyzoned.radio.com for the podcast, or just put Comfortably Zoned in YouTube, and 3,000 episodes will come out. And it's for the book, Amazon, and it's going to be available in audio, in Audible, available now in ebook and paperback. By next week, it will be in hardcover. So you got your choice. Take a chance. You'll never find a better book to read.
And certainly we'll do so. And George, tell us, where can we find your books and your podcast at?
Well, on the Comfortably Zoned network, my Retro Rangers are there. My books are available on Amazon and other bookstores. The first one is We Did Everything But Win, about the Emil Francis era Rangers. And the second one is Guardians of the Goal, about the history of New York Ranger goaltending. I'm working on a third book now, and hopefully I'll get that out in about a year. And that's going to be called Forgotten Blue Shirts, about the Rangers of the 1940s. So I'm hoping that, like I said, I can get that done in about a year.
We're certainly looking forward to it, guys. George and Ralph, a very big thank you for your time. You guys are amazing. Once again, Georgegrimm and Ralph Zig-Zag Tyko on the Mike Wagner Show with the book Comfortably Zoned of vatofpinetar. Very big thank you for your time. You guys are amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Definitely keep you guys in mind for 2022. Keep in touch and look forward to having one of you or both of you back on very soon. You guys are totally amazing.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Picture this photo books, where remembering is the key ingredient. Preserving memories, keeping the memories of your loved ones alive as they reach in and touch your heart. How beautiful your mother looked at her wedding, and even more so at yours. The holidays are coming. What better time to give a gift of remembrance that makes you laugh and cry all at the same time? Whether it's a gift of past holidays, grandma's recipes, long ago moments, or just because, those smiles and tears will melt your heart. Call Karen Shaw at 646-798-0809. Once again, that's 646-798-0809. Or visit picturethisphotoBooks.com.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, iTunes, YouTube, anchorfm, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.